I
Thumbs
can't
up.
see you.
She
so-
said
okay.
thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Middletown Public School Committee meeting to order at 3:31 PM on Thursday, February 16th, 2023. All members are present except for Mrs. Heaney. She's not available this evening. Should we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance now or wait till later?
We could do it now.
All right, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this afternoon, we're going to start with our budget workshop. For our proposed 2024 budget.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is walk you through our budget workshop. This will be done over 3 or 4 meetings. We will have the final budget to you for your approval in time to meet the deadlines by charter for the town council. We did want to have a budget 101. I think during our orientation, we had talked about doing a budget 101 little workshop, but we just not enough time, not enough hours in a day or days in a week. So I apologize. So we'll try to blend the proposal, our budget proposal, and a budget 101 all together. Concurrently. I do want to introduce, I know many of you know Lori Miller. Lori is a school attorney who works at a Ben Scungio's office. She also wore hat as finance director, business manager in many districts throughout the state. As part of our kind of righting the ship, so to speak, with our finance department, Lori has been working with us and our business office to really set up processes, procedures, a blueprint as we go forward. So we have things in place, cross-train individuals, suggest different kinds of positions for our business office. So I appreciate Lori's guidance. You know, again, she brings that expertise with us, and at the end of the day we'll be doing these budget presentations, but T and myself will be putting the budget together with Lori again as a blueprint for us to go forward to make sure we cover everything that we need, and again right the ship to make the business office managed effectively, to gain trust with our town council and our citizens. So having said that, let's move forward. I know, Mr. Connaughton, we do have a next, Kiki, do you want to give him a budget presentation?
Sure.
Yeah, how are you? Good, welcome. You've been
How are you?
to many meetings as we
Hi,
this week.
Peter.
I think I've seen you a few times.
Education is a good thing.
Yep, education is a good thing. So we always like to start off our meetings with all meetings, but budget meetings in particular. What do we hope to accomplish tonight? We want to review our budget workshop dates and the topics that we will be talking about. We want to discuss the budget process. You know, as I said, this is budget 101, and yet we're creating the budget as we go along. We want to review our fiscal management goals that school committees adopt. Tonight we will review our staffing, our enrollment, give you an overview of state aid, impact aid, and municipal appropriations. You'll be briefed a little bit about the special ed program and the budget implications there. We're not going to spend a great deal of time on this particular piece because at our next budget workshop, the special ed director will be showing you that information. We want to provide some updates on our revenues and expenses. David Anisi's, our IT director, is going to present his technology needs and again, review upcoming meetings. I think I was redundant here. So budget workshops, the purpose of a budget workshop is really to have a full discussion of the budget, to have an open, honest discussion about what are our challenges, what are our opportunities. Workshops are meant to be that kind of a format. We want to talk about transparency. We want our budget and our budget process to be transparent. So we will provide you data and input to show you how we got to our FY24 budget proposal. We will present all the information. We used to have a budget subcommittee, and oftentimes just the number of meetings people can be out. We have a small enough committee, a cohesive school committee, that we can really present this budget information to our entire school committee at a workshop. We want to provide ongoing communication to our town council and about our school department needs. And, you know, again, thank you, Mr. Connaughton, for being here and representing the town council and being the liaison. So you hear the background of about this. Provide communication to our Middletown community about the budget. We will try to get all these budget workshops up on our websites so people can see how we're developing the budget. Again, transparency is a big thing in the budget process, where we want to build up to presenting to our town council. And we want to promote really the why and how the budget proposal supports the school department and its students, the needs for our students. So you might think, oh, this is the first time we're doing the budget, but no, we actually started on November 21st, 2022 with our central office budget discussions. We really had that kickoff. We developed the budget calendar. We talked about the budget process. Again, we wanted to make it meaningful to our principals and directors who were putting in budget requests. We wanted it to be understandable, so that people would understand what and how we're getting these numbers and why we might have to make reductions at a different time. And again, through Lori's guidance, you know, many of the things that we are putting in place are based on her recommendations for a good business office and a good business practices when it comes to presenting a budget. I want to thank David Anisi and Michelle Fonseca. We've used workbooks in the past for all of our principals, for every office, but and every department. But Michelle and David really made the workbooks usable. Their drop-down menus, and maybe at some point we'll show you one of those budget workshops, what it looks like, so you can see the work that goes into what a principal does, what a director does, what each department in the school system does. We've had tutoring around that budget workshop, budget workbooks. We've met individually with our building principals, department heads. I think we have 2 more left. The workbooks are going to be locked down, and then that's what we start taking all that data. We start to build that budget up. So I don't know, maybe at the end of this, David, if we have time, you can pull a budget workbook up. Sure. And, you know, just show how the process works, everybody being involved in the process. So, you know, these are just the dates. As I said, we started back in November. And we added 2 more dates. We got dates from the town council that on May 8th, we will have a budget presentation to the town council at 6 o'clock at town hall. We added, the town council also added a May 20th. That's a Saturday, and that's a day long. All departments meet with the town council. We'll have a specific time. But we go and we answer any questions, have clarity around what the budget is, why we're asking for what we're asking. And then there are 2 public hearings on June 13th is the first public hearing, and June 13th is the first, June 21st is the second, and hopefully the town council will adopt the budget that night. So any questions about the calendar? Okay,
You want to stick May 2nd in there for the ballot.
oh,
Only.
okay, yeah,
I just noted that.
okay, that's a good point. We'll put that in. We'll have to put that in big letters and hopefully smiley faces, right?
It's just a piece of trivia.
Trivia.
Important.
Okay, again, our work, when we build a budget is always grounded in our strategic plan and our fiscal management goals. Now, this plan is old. Again, we were asked not to revise this plan because regionalization was looming and Newport's strategic plan was up the same time ours was, and if had regionalization gone through, it would have been, you know, a joint strategic plan. So this has to be first and foremost, either in the summer or fall, we need to do an extensive strategic plan. A good scan. I like to call it now a strategic direction rather than a strategic plan. It really has to be a direction focused on the goals. And, you know, we'll have many goals, not only around student achievement, but on communication, on hopefully a new school and the direction we're going there. But there are 5 goals. Again, we still stand true to them around student achievement, about how we support our students, about professional growth. How does every member of our school committee grow professionally, around communication and partnerships. Again, this is paramount as we have our pathways at our high school, building those partnerships with the career pathways. And then to be future ready, how do we get our academic return on investment so that we can demonstrate that the dollars our taxpayers give us, that there is academic return on investment. Typically, these are the fiscal goals that are set by school committees across the state, across the country. We've done a lot of research, and these tend to be the heartbeat of fiscal management goals. If you don't like any of these, you tell me. These, you know, as I said, we've done research. These are the goals that stand out to move a district forward, that we provide resources, fiscal resources and human resources to enhance high quality education for all of our students, that we identify and acquire high quality resources to support our district goals. So to get practical there, that means when we pick curriculum, it's high quality curriculum. We're in the process, we're finished our English language arts curriculum. We're in the process of our math curriculum. And they all, just by state law now, they all have to be a high quality curriculum. But any resources, we do our research before we select something and put dollars into it. Again, harness the fiscal resources to meet the priorities of our instructional goals, and also to promote equity and excellence in all we do, so that there are equal resources and equitable resources given to all students, all staff, and so forth. Again, to harness our resources to support student achievement and instructional goals, and to really start improving that student growth and achievement. Last month you saw our test scores, our RICAS scores. We see some good growth. We need to get better at that coming off COVID. And, you know, this is what we will be doing, you know, with the allocating the resources. Again, achieve a notable return on educational investment. And then to maximize our efforts around our strategic plan, our strategic direction. Would you like to tweak any of those or add any of those?
I have a question with regard to grants and how that impacts the fiscal goals. So say we get a long-term grant and it finishes after 5 years, and that program started. Do we try to get another grant to continue that? Or do we?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're always looking for grants. Oftentimes when a grant sunsets, the terms of the grant or the spirit of the grant that we secure, they want to show how will it continue? How will you sustain that? So for instance, our Department of Defense grant for Make a Space at Forest Avenue and Gaudet School included funding a full-time librarian. The first year, the second year, it was a half-time, and we're sunsetting that grant, and it's assumed that we will now not lay off that librarian, that the operating budget will pick up that 0.5. So we try to sustain it that way and demonstrate to whoever the grantee is, grantor, that we will sustain that. And we do go after subsequent grants. It might be a little bit of a twist of the grant to build on, because oftentimes they're not the same, not renewable grants, except for the Consolidated Resource Grant, which is a Title I, a Title II, Title III grant that you get every year. We do change the goals within that year.
So is there any one place we can look at all of our grants and what years they expire and
Sure,
kind of
we can get
project
that
the
information.
costs
Yep.
going out?
Yep, we'll get that information to you. Anything else with those management goals? Okay, thank you. So then we have a admin retreat in the summer, and the administrative team, central office, and our building base admin, we sit and we develop some instructional goals and priorities for the year. And these were the goals, some of them from last year, some of them new ones this year. Again, research-based interventions for additional learning opportunities for our students. So we have Beyond the Bell program. Again, the town, we had part of a grant. The town council very generously gave us additional dollars to round that program out. When we say Tier 1 instruction, we mean that's core instruction. And that is assuring that every teacher is delivering a guaranteed viable curriculum, the curriculum that the school committee has adopted as a Tier 1 for all students. And then this is always a challenge for us, increase our math and reading intervention to help with what's called Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions. So a math intervention or a reading intervention would be a Tier 2 instruction, where students are selected for Tier 2 based on not meeting standards, or we see a gap in their learning. A Tier 3 is a far more intensive instruction, and that's perhaps when special education teachers become more involved in direct instruction for our students, or students need social emotional supports as well. The other piece is we're in the process of implementing high quality curriculum materials. English language arts is behind us, but that doesn't mean we leave it alone, because we do need to continue to provide the professional development around that. This year, we will be selecting a new math curriculum, and the following year, a science curriculum. And along with selecting a high quality curriculum comes professional development around that. So you just don't buy the books, the teachers don't sit around and select that, but it's the professional development around that that's key. There's a state law called Right to Read Act, which has every teacher and administrator being aware of what's called the science of reading. We had a very aggressive timeline. Some districts are doing this with their staff over 2 or 3 years. every member of our staff has gone through the science of reading. And there's different levels, like for my level, it's an awareness level. For a classroom teacher, it has to be a proficiency level. All of our teachers who are at that level, we have 100% proficient. And it's time. It's been a lot of time taken. So that's a proud moment that we really need to celebrate, that our teachers were really into this. They wanted to be trained to teach reading the right way. So that's something to celebrate again. I'd like to give you a little staffing snapshot. This is how our data is drawn from our staff information in our data department. We break down by school where our staff, how many staff we have for budget purposes, for uniform chart of account purposes, just for people to see. So currently we have 292.02. And we say, what's a 0.02 person? Well, they probably look pretty thin. I don't know. But we count them this way as FTEs, full-time equivalents. This number last year, we're down 3.5 staff last year. We did close some classes because of enrollment and didn't replace staff because of retirements. So we're down 3.5 teachers. The next slide shows you, and usually I don't show this slide, but with whatever's going to happen to special ed, these are the people we will be assuming in our in our regular operating budget. The 14.70, we paid 52% of these staff. We will be paying 100% of this staff next year. So the transition program, that's a program for 18 to 22-year-olds. We're talking as a board, because it's a regional program, that one of the districts will house that program or pull it onto their operating budget. And then if another district wants to tuition students in, that we would have a reasonable transition. These are tremendous programs for our students who are 18 to 22, the first two programs here. The Project Search is another regional transition program. Those are for, again, 18 to 22. There's 8 to 10 of those students who go into Newport Hospital, and they go through every department. And they learn how to sort mail, they learn the nutrition, they learn how to deliver medical supplies. And it's a wonderful program for our students. They get jobs after that, often at the hospital. But, we've had students, because of the work skills that they learn, go to Home Depot. I forget the other list, but it's been a very successful program. This is also another revenue source that we could use because this is the only program in the East Bay of this nature. And if another community had a student 18 to 22, met the profile and the criteria for that, we could charge another district tuition for that student. So I'd like to hold on to these programs. And again, that's all going to be part of the dissolution when we break that region up.
Were there students from the other districts in that program?
Yes.
There were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first two program, we have students from the other districts and from districts outside the regional special ed program.
So that 14.7 is the full-time equivalent
Yes.
of the program, and we paid 52%. So there were roughly 28 people in that whole program.
In the regional program.
So we paid half of that cost.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to figure out why you're saying that we're paying 100% of the cost now. So we were paying 52% of the 28.
Right, yes,
So now we're paying 100%
We
of the
will be.
14%.
with the,
So we're still paying 50% of the cost, not 100% of the cost.
no, well, we would, if you vote to dissolve, the other districts have, so, we'd be a region unto ourselves. We would assume all of these costs, 100, but 52 we already pay.
Yeah, so we're basically.
Kind of comes out
there's-
similar.
It's not, we're increasing the program cost.
Yeah.
We're saying, we're basically saying about the same amount of money.
Well, a little bit more. but
Yeah, we hope not. Not a real strong increase.
Well, I mean, that, when
We
you
don't
look
have
at
a choice.
when you look at the 14 positions, and there are other positions, but these are the ones we pay 52%, you would say that's why the region is a cost saver. It always has been, it always probably will be. This could be a break even cost,
Mhm.
or it could cost us a little more. My hunch, it's going to cost us a little more because we want to do it the right way. But we can offset it by bringing in students to those first two programs from other districts. Not be outrageous, be competitive with what we do, but could be some offset by revenues.
Are there any other programs that others could come into as well, or is it pretty much those two?
Pretty much those two. If we do have a specialized program, let
Mhm.
me give you an example. Suppose our new special ed our new special ed director comes in, because it won't be a regional special ed person, comes in and says, we have X number of students who really are autistic. Rather than send them out, we feel we could set up a program for these students and meet their needs. We'd look at a cost analysis of that, but we could offer out then.
Mhm.
We could offer a program, just like CTE
Mhm.
that we do. So again, we have to think out of the box. We have to be creative, have to make sure it's going to be good for our students, our local students, and the other districts that would be sending.
It's important to note, these are state required. We don't have a choice.
Mhm.
We,
Right. Will any of the students within our district, how do I word this? Let me think it through.
Okay, so
trying to
I
think.
think I might know where
I'm
you're going,
Go
but maybe not.
ahead.
We had 12 families, students that are out of district. They live in Middletown,
Mhm.
but because of the region, we didn't have programs here. They went to Tiverton because
Right.
Tiverton didn't have a program. We are taking those students here and we're adding 3 classes.
And will any of those not be able to go into those 3 classes?
No,
Will they
they're-
still be, okay,
They'll all go
so
into our classes.
we'll do it all internally, they
Yes.
will be able to do that,
Yeah.
okay.
I just, you gotta be careful about building a program when you don't know what the population is gonna be from year to year.
Oh, yeah, right.
The
Right,
problem
we-
is we never know the population. because
No,
it
but we'd have to see a
fluctuates,
trend,
fluctuates, Yeah.
and the number, and then you have the age span, so you might have, 7 children in the autism spectrum who, are ages 7 through 12. And you have to watch the age,
Mhm.
so, yeah, we'll be very thoughtful about that. Yeah. And then the regional supports, staff, the 10.30, that's our director, assistant director, speech, school psychologists, social workers. The early childhood, by law, we need an early childhood coordinator. We don't think we need a full-time coordinator. As this person is here, we'll have a part-time coordinator. So that's a total of 14.7, as I said, that we will be assuming. Thanks for those questions.
And that includes the new positions.
This does not
That
include the
does
new
not
position.
include
Yeah.
what's to come, okay.
Right. Again, our enrollment, you see our October 22 enrollment. Well, we upload our enrollment every day, but RIDE pulls a data point around October 1, and pulls another data point in March for for state aid. Those were our numbers of, and I should note this, I guess, the October 1 date was, we had 1927,927 students. And then we do enrollment projections internally, because we know the nuances of our military families and the classes and so forth. And I'm projecting that we're going to have a little bit more next year, 19,949 students. And then we do an outside source data called NESDEC, and they do their own projections, and they have us at 1913. So I always like when September and October all roll around, I always like to say, who was closest? NESDEC or our own enrollment projections. But this helps us determine classes. So, you look at, we expect 160 students entering kindergarten. So how many kindergarten classes do we need at the schools? And this helps us project as we build our staffing needs for the budget, what we need. It gets a little dicier from 7 through 12 because it's not 25 students in one class. There's, obviously the high school has selection, course selection and so forth.
Excuse me, what's the student number in kindergarten?
Right, as of October, we had 152. It's probably hovers
No,
around that.
I'm sorry, in one classroom. what,
20
20,
20 in K1 and 2, and 25 in grades 3 to 12.
thank you, that's what I was.
And I have to tell you, we made those reductions in staffing because of budget and all, and most of our classes are very close to capacity. And it's been a challenge for our teachers, especially at the elementary, actually every level. It's been a challenge for our teachers.
That door unlocked?
Okay, now get into the money part. This is our district budget. This was released, the governor released the state aid expectation. Last year, Middletown received 8,476,000. This year, when the governor released it, we are reduced by $500,000, so it's 7,944,000. We are working with our legislators. I talked to Senator DePalma last week, and he feels that number will get better for us. It will be, they're trying to work with the high cost special ed numbers, and we would qualify for that. I mean, look at, we qualified already for that. And then that whole harmless that I talked about, for 2 years, because of COVID and the loss of enrollment around the state, there was a hold harmless, both with the military impact aid too, where whatever we were counted 2 years ago, whatever our enrollment was, held through for last year and this year. Now the governor wants to get away with that and look at the new numbers, and it should be the new numbers, but give us time to plan. Have it be a gradual hold harmless, you know what I mean? To do it by percent. So Senator DePalma thought that would possibly fly and help us. So we hope that number, by the time we put this budget together, we hope that number increases. Okay. Just some more facts. Last year, the town council appropriated 28 million. Again, I thank the town council and I thank them again publicly. They not only gave us the 4% increase to get us to 28 million, they gave us another $500,000 for lines that we felt would be overexpended, and it's proved true. And they also gave us another $200,000 for fine arts and athletics. And that really helped boost. That was an infusion that we needed. So, again, we will be asking, or it's up to you, I'm proposing that we ask for 4%. You know, when you see these budget workshops roll out, we have to ask for 4%, but
At
again,
least
that's up to you.
At least.
You're gonna see that we're gonna need more than 4%. So that would be an infusion of another $1 million for us, new dollars. Things that we consider when we're putting this budget together, this is kind of our baseline. We look at our operating funds, our special revenue funds, and that equals our total budget. Again, this is like budget 101. So the special revenue funds are those grants that I talked about, the competitive grants and also the consolidated resource grant. We have to look at salaries and compensation. Every teacher moves up a step each year. And there's a differential for that cost. So the business office, along with Lori, is in the process of moving all our staff up a step. Also, our custodians move up a step. So that's part of the process. What are the new positions? What are the staffing changes? We have 5 retirees. The retiree date was February 1. So we know that we have 5 in the district that are retiring. It is more than likely we need to replace those teachers. Then you're going to hear the new requests, both at the school and the district level. I mentioned the staffing. We have 10 or 11 positions that are grant funded that are sunset. So we're looking for ways to put any of those positions in the consolidated resource grant or into the operating budget. And it's hard. It's going to be very hard to do that. I'm going to hear a presentation later about the need for more multi-language learner teachers. I see Ronnie sitting out there. So then the other part of the building the budget is our revenues, our state aid. I actually should have put impact aid here because that's the federal dollars we get for our military. And then, you know, how do these align with our fiscal management goals? Considerations are, this is what we have in terms of compensation. We do have 3 bargaining units that we need to negotiate with. Our teachers are contract is up on the 31st of August this summer. So we will be negotiating with our teachers. Again, our teachers we've done a rollover for the past 2 years with a 1.5 increase. It's been reasonable. They've recognized the situation that we're in. We're in contract continuation with our custodians and maintenance staff. Hopefully we're getting closer to a contract with them, and our teacher assistants. Their contract is up August 31st, 2023. And they've done a rollover the past 2 years with a 1.5%. In terms of central office and building administrators, the various expiration dates between this June and next June, and our other individual contracts, that's our clerical and so forth, they're this June and next June. And we haven't obviously put in the wages in the FY24 budget, but something will have to be accounted for. And
Well, can I ask you, any hint, you don't have to commit yourself, how you doing on the teachers' negotiations?
so we haven't started. They have requested to negotiate. At the probably next committee, we have to, if it's your choice, to appoint Attorney Scungio as the chief negotiator, and then two of you sit on the negotiations, and we start the process.
I was wondering if they gave you a number, that was it.
No.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, look around the state. There are salaries. Teacher contracts are being settled 2.5%.
Yeah, a little high.
So this is what we know about projected increases. We always hope that these numbers get better. Our medical We do this along with the town. Mark in his budget is putting 7% increase for healthcare. Hopefully, we know that before we give you a final budget in March. It's close usually, the dates. The dental 4% increase. We do know the certified staff for in retirement, there's a 0 increase. That's firm, isn't it? Is that one
Yes,
firm?
well, it's a 0.01%
Yeah,
decrease.
yeah,
Yes, it's
decrease,
firm.
yeah,
Yep, it's firm.
yeah. And the non-cert is a 0.5. So that's, shouldn't be projected. We know that as the rates.
It'll be lower, but the salaries will make it come up a little
Yeah.
bit, so you won't have. a real
Yeah.
increase.
Okay, and then, you know, a former school committee member always said, what happens? How much money is it? So I always, this is one of my favorite sides in honor of her. If the town gives us 4%, it's that 1,142,000. If we get 3%, 856,000, 2%, 571, 1%, 285. So when you take a look at what salary increases could be, might be, will be, you're close to $500,000 maybe. You know, the years where we received 0 and we had to honor our contractual obligations, it was $500,000 plus.
That we had to cut to meet those.
Right. So, that's where we are. I'm going to turn it over to our technology. Do you have any questions? Okay. I'm going to turn this over to our technology guru here. Do I need to close out? And if we have time, you're going to pull up something, right? You'll pull up a workbook from, okay. Now look at, you can tell he's the IT guru. Look at this.
Well, we know David's happy place. It's one of the-
It's kind of all our happy places.
It is, it
Well,
really is.
And he's doing it from his phone. Can't do it from anything, so I just like to watch it.
Well, thank you very much, Superintendent Krager. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. I am very excited for the opportunity to present to you our 2024 budget for technology. So just a presentation overview for you all today. We're going to talk about our team. We're going to talk about where we have been as a department this past fiscal year. We're going to also talk about our budget process and the steps that we took to make this year's budget. We're going to give you a general IT budget overview at a high level. And we're going to review our goals as a department. First, by starting off, this is what our IT team looks like. This is an org chart as it stands today. And you can see right off the bat that we do a lot of work at our department. You know, technology is at the center of almost everything we do. It helps us do our jobs and makes us as productive as we are in them. And it's really important that we staff our department appropriately. We have some of the positions that we have in our department. We have a network administrator. We have a coordinator of student information and educational systems. Now, the network administrator deals with a lot of our internet, our Wi-Fi, our cybersecurity, network strength, things like that. Whereas our coordinator of student information systems deals with our student information system, PowerSchool, our data reporting to RIDE, educational apps, Clever, and everything to do with our student data. We also have a position that's vacant in our department. It's our coordinator of operational systems and technical support. This is a critical role to our department because this person coordinates all of our non-instructional software and systems of the district. For example, configuration of our phone system, our copier systems, our network security cameras, all of the non-instructional software and services that goes into the operations of the district is handled by that person. Also, we have another important role, which is our technology integration specialist. This is a full-time position devoted to making sure that whatever we buy as a district, it is put to the most best use possible. We're really getting the most out of everything that we implement. And this person coordinates all the professional development to the district, provides support to all of our faculty, staff, and students, as well as coordinating our team of tech coaches within the district. We also have our assistant network administrator and lead technician. This is our boots on the ground in the schools type of position where it's our first line of defense for all technical difficulties and issues and concerns. This person repairs all of our hardware and is tier 1 technical support for all of our software troubleshooting issues. And so you have been provided in your shared folders on your iPads a copy of the presentation. It's under the workshop subfolder, and later on you can kind of read what goes into every position. Next, we're going to talk about where we have been as a department. So this is a summary of all of our accomplishments that we took this past fiscal year. And as you can tell, we have been very busy as a department. We have implemented a new IT asset management system to better keep track of all of our existing inventory. Out of the requests from our teachers directly, we have implemented the math component of iExcel district-wide K through 12. We have worked in partnership with our special ed staff and our assistant superintendent to overhaul our special programs, special ed database platform for all of our IEPs, 504s, and healthcare plans. We implemented new MTSS monitoring software called Branching Minds. We have an entirely new digital phone system. We were fortunate enough to install up to 45 interactive whiteboards district-wide. We unified our email and cloud productivity form under one singular place, which is Google. We worked with our assistant superintendent to redesign our K-8 report cards. We reimagined the budget process from the ground up with new streamlined budget workbooks. We implemented through grant funding one-to-one iPad program for our K-1 students. We implemented all new Wi-Fi access points and switching district-wide. We developed new IT policies for our students to follow. And these are just some of the highlights of the accomplishments that we have made this past fiscal year.
And we were down a member of the,
Yes, and we were down a member of the team for most of that. I'm going to talk to you next about our budget process. So as Superintendent Krager pointed out, we have a brand new budget process that we are following internally to craft our budgets from the ground up. And so in partnership with the business office, our Assistant Superintendent Fonseca and myself, we have developed an entirely new budget workbook that will be better suited for our district's needs. And what this budget workbook allows us to do is itemize every one of our requests, but through a series of drop-down menus, it will actually generate the UCOA budget code automatically for us, hopefully saving a few steps for our business office, and also having a better understanding for our budget managers of the budget process. As a department, what we did to build our budget this year, like every year, is that we assessed all of our current software subscriptions based on usage reports in the district and direct user feedback from our administrators and faculty. We then took that information and we attained accurate quotes with all different kinds of price adjustments that may take place between year to year. And we also got the most accurate pricing on things like shipping and price increases and things like that. We also created and reviewed a budget with the entire IT team. So we broke off and generated a lot of things on our own, but we always come together in our weekly IT team meetings to review the budget as a whole team. After we review the budget as an IT team, we budget with the central office team. Then we present our budget to each building principal and also the budget managers at the high school as well, just so that we have as much input as possible on the IT budget and that we don't forget anything. What you also see this year is that the IT budget is a little bit higher than normal because in meeting with our principals and high school budget managers, we assumed a lot of their budget lines for all digital licenses and subscriptions. So if it's a digital license for an e-textbook, for example, no longer will that be under the high school's budget. That will fall under IT, but categorized under the high school. We'll go through that a little bit later. And finally, we went back to the drawing board and made adjustments based on all stakeholder feedback. And so that's just a high-level overview of our budget process as a team.
So
Next-
you would think, why is the IT involved in the budget? They have to be intricately involved in the budget to do this efficiently and all. So again, my thanks.
Thank you.
David, use the word stakeholder. Can you explain that?
So yeah, so we take into account when we build the budget input from directly members from our team, our teachers, our building principals, our central office administrative staff, directors, et cetera. And so that's what I mean by that.
So it's so, as we move forward with so much curriculum information being, ebooks and all of that, do we, you expect it to grow and grow and grow over time?
Yes.
As
So
you take on all the different,
basically on paper, it'll look a little bit more, but
Mhm.
essentially it's a wash because basically taking expenses that was at a building level and bringing them into
Mhm.
IT. So it's really just taking one, putting in the other, but that is really important for us to do administratively
Mhm.
because it allows for IT to have a whole bird's eye view of when is our upcoming renewal date? When do we need to start processing quotes, requisitions, POs appropriately? So it allows us to be more streamlined in our renewals, but it also allows us to take a step back and to see as far as are we getting the best price of what we're required to purchase? Is there another vendor we could purchase that from? Can I negotiate another discount if we, purchase another, component or work some sort of deal out? So it allows me to really be the chief negotiator on a lot of those necessary digital licenses. So a little bit of our high level IT budget overview. We're going to first talk about our software renewals. We have a total of $630,000 budgeted for software renewals. Now, what does that look like? That includes things like educational apps such as Newsela, Learning A to Z, Carnegie Learning, Edpuzzle. It also includes our student information system, which is a very big expense. PowerSchool SIS, our district websites, all of our security subscriptions, Adobe, BrainPop, McGraw-Hill educational licenses, Seesaw, Formative, our Google licenses, our Microsoft licenses, our library media software renewals, and most importantly, our financial system of renewal. And so that really all encompasses both our administrative requirements and our educational needs as well.
Have they increased the license fees? Another situation I've been to, I've seen doubled and quadruple license fees go up that almost put me into shock. So they're increasing, are they?
Yes, so they are increasing substantially. All of those increases, however, are included and accounted for in the fiscal year 24 budget. That's part of the process is, it's better we know now versus better than to be surprised down the road. So all of the price increases have been accounted for, but I do my best to keep those at an absolute minimum. When there's a price increase that's presented to me, I always compare a quote that I'm getting for the next budget season against what I paid for last year. And if there is a discrepancy there, I always go back to the vendor requesting a discount. And most of the time I am successful in obtaining that discount. So trying to, again, offset these price increases and be as budget conscious as possible for the taxpayers of Middletown. So these are our anticipated software renewals. Next, we are going to talk about our professional services and utilities. So we have $250,000 in our professional services and utilities. What that includes is our consultants. So we have consultants for our PowerSchool and state reporting. We have a network systems consultant, an E-rate consultant, which helps us with federal reimbursement dollars. We also are including a brand new copier contract in this amount, our continuation of our phone system, professional development opportunities, cybersecurity services, district cell phones, and other types of internet services as well. So that 250K includes all of those professional services and utilities, again, both district administrative and on the school level as well. Moving forward from that, we also are going to budget $50,000 in supplies and equipment. Now, this is really important for us as well, because this will help us maintain an accurate stock level of replacement computer parts, device chargers, office supplies for our registration staff, emergency server upgrades, supplies for our own IT operations, ink and toner, emergency hardware upgrades, and battery replacements and other networking tools. Currently, we do not have an adequate stock level of these supplies on hand on our team. So this is really important for us. For example, there is a severe shortage of Chromebook chargers in our district because those are the highest level of items that get misplaced by our students and faculty. And so we do have policies and programs in place to mitigate that. But again, we need to have a comfortable stockpile of things like batteries and other different parts, such as chargers and things like that, just to maintain consistency in our operations. So we're budgeting $50,000 for that this year. Lastly, we're going to go over our CIP funds. Through this capital improvement program, we are requesting items such as Chromebooks, classroom technology upgrades, a new security camera system, advanced computer labs, network infrastructure upgrades, a centralized data center, one-to-one iPads, and hardware like that. So you will notice in the budget, we don't have much of a hardware budget coming out of our operating budget. We rely and critically depend on the town CIP to get those funds for our hardware. We have a critical one-to-one program renewal process that we will talk a little bit later in the budget presentation that is very contingent upon the CIP. And so this is very important to us as a department, and we do rely on it a lot. Which brings us to our department goals. So as a department, this year we have three main goals as a department. We have our first goal, which is access, our second goal, which is productivity, and our third goal, which is safety. So access, productivity, and safety is what we're going to focus in on for this budget year. So what does that look like? Let's talk first about access. Why is access important with technology? Access is important because we need devices and capabilities to distribute to our faculty, staff, and students for them to, again, to do their jobs. It's the avenue in which they complete a lot of their work, and a lot of their work depends on their devices. So what does that look like from our department perspective? Well, we implemented a one-to-one refresh program last year. And so our one-to-one fleet of devices, which is mainly composed of Chromebooks, is very important because it's our largest deployment as a district department. We have over 2,000 one-to-one devices out in the field that need constant maintenance and support, but they also need to be replaced because technology doesn't last forever. And us as a department have an obligation to appropriately plan for such a refresh to keep our devices current. And we want something that is most of all consistent, predictable, and manageable as a district, both at an IT level and a finance level. We plan every year on a consistent annual basis to upgrade 3 grades in the district per year, and that is grades 2, 5, and 9. And we keep upgrading grades 2, 5, and 9 every single year. Why? Well, because when they graduate from the first grade, they're no longer being used their one-to-one iPad, they're going to need a device. So right in grade 2, we give them a device. That student will keep their second grade issued device until that student reaches the 5th grade. At the 5th grade, they will receive a new device, which will carry them and last them through middle school. Until they get to high school, will they receive a high school device, which will last them through high school. And what we found as a department is that's the average lifespan of these devices anyway. So if we can coincide the average lifespan of these devices with major milestones in a child's educational journey, it's the best way to keep that child equipped and up and running and our devices updated. Roughly, that's about a 600 device count purchase per year. What this does is it lowers our costs and keeps costs predictable and consistent. Now, this is important because some of you who were on the school committee last year may have remembered my question to Teresa last year about what airline she likes to fly and how does an airline have anything to do with a one-to-one device? Well, like a major airline, you never see JetBlue or Southwest throw out all of their airplanes at once and bring in an entire new fleet with a flip of a switch. They do this process gradually because it's expensive and heavy on personnel and finance resources. So they refresh their planes a couple at a time. And so we want to take that same approach with technology because it actually has a lot of similarities between the two. It also makes implementation manageable for us. Again, we are a small team for the size of the district, and we don't have the staff to have a higher turnover rate on any more devices, like in the thousands of devices range. By keeping that device count lower at 600 allows our team to roll out this plan on an annual basis, along with everything else that we're doing, because the beginning of the school year is our very busiest time of the year. As I said, it also keeps the fleet up to date with the latest security features, functionality, and things like that in a responsible manner. And we actually kick off to purchase this fiscal year from CIP funds. We already have quotes and requisitions ready to go that will be submitted next week to the business office to get this process started for fiscal year 23. That way, we don't have to wait till next year's CIP is approved. We are using last year's CIP money that we were awarded because this is phase year 2 of this program. We actually plan to buy things this summer to get the process started. In addition to access for our one-to-one program, we also like in-classroom technology access. And the biggest component to our in-classroom technology is our interactive whiteboard displays. Currently, we have on-ordered and we purchased 45 displays this academic year alone. And we were fortunate enough to leverage a lot of grant funding opportunities to do so. So it is a net zero cost to the district. And so these are 65-inch 4K widescreen HD displays. And our teachers are loving them in the schools, but we're not stopping there. We plan to purchase up to 125 4K displays for our classrooms. This will put us very close to a one-to-one program for our teachers to board ratio. We have about 160 classrooms in the district. This is what we're looking to get out going forward. Yes.
Do you do professional development or instruction with all of them?
Yes, we will get to that
Oh,
as well.
okay.
Yep, absolutely. So where does this number come from? Because I can see Ms. Miller in front of me saying, where are we going to find funds to pay for that, right? So we actually, at our last school committee meeting, you guys voted on a purchase of 80 boards in the district through a grant. And so again, we're going to leverage a lot of grant and CIP funding for that. So we already have 80 of that number accounted and paid for. So it's very exciting for us. We're not going to stop there until we get full one-to-one digital boards in our schools. So a little bit more information about these boards and the process behind them. We utilize grant funding, CIP dollars, and other alternative opportunities to fund these resources, so they're not coming out of our general operating budget. These are 65-inch 4K fully interactive multi-touch display for 20 points of touch, meaning you can have 3 students in the front of the room interacting at a whiteboard at once. And this is not a stock image off Google. This is actually an image from our first grade classroom at Forest Elementary with the boards already in use. The teachers can wirelessly interact and project their content to the board. We have interactive whiteboard software built in for free. And there are multiple in-person PD opportunities available. As technologically savvy as I may be, I am a big believer in in-person meetings and in-person professional development. So I try to provide those opportunities as much as possible. In fact, we just concluded an in-person PD opportunity on these whiteboards at our high school just about 45 minutes ago. And so all of our high school teachers who had boards already installed were invited to an in-person, hands-on interactive demonstration. We also held a PD for all of our elementary and middle school teachers on Monday. That was another in-person PD opportunity on these boards, which have proven to be very, very helpful. But we're not stopping there. We also have many online resources and training videos available on our district curated technology support site, Tech Talk. So now that we talked about access, our next goal that we're going to talk about is productivity. And one of the things that really is a hindrance on our entire district's productivity is our copy machines in the district. So our current copiers are way beyond their useful life. All copiers, we hope to replace them with all brand new machines. So all of our district copiers are extremely, extremely old. They have a certain rating on them for how many copies per machine they are rated for. We are in many cases 500,000 or close to 1 million pages beyond their rated useful life. They're getting to the point where they just don't work anymore in the district, and we had to find emergency alternatives to put in place. It is a very dire situation in our district to get this rectified as soon as possible. So again, we do plan on replacing all of our copiers with brand new machines. We also plan to increase the copier count in our district from 12 district copiers to 19, just to, again, provide greater access to our copiers for our teachers and students. What's really important to realize from a finance perspective, it's much more economical to print via a copy machine than it is to print via a LaserJet or inkjet printer. So we want to try to encourage that copying as much as possible. We also plan on adding color copying access to every district building. Currently, the only color copier is upstairs at Oliphant. That is unacceptable to me. I think that all district buildings need color copying access, but we need to make sure it is done in a responsible manner because color copying is more than black and white. However, it is still substantially less than the color copying going on in our building level right now. So it's really important to understand. And all of this will be monitored and reports will be run and will be remotely accessible via a badge print system. So we'll be able to pull analytics directly from our district copiers to make sure there is no abuse of our copying. And the badge print system is also really important because it increases the security of our copies. If you were to send something to print and it was a confidential IEP, you don't want to send that to a copier in a teacher's room when you have other people making copies, right? Number one, it interrupts the current copy job that the teacher in the teacher's room is currently working on. And two, you don't want to be copying or printing confidential information out there. What the badge print system allows you to do is you print to one local server, and wherever you are in the district, any district building, any room in your school, you'll be able to badge into that copier and retrieve that print request on demand. So that way we keep the integrity of our printing secure and confidential, and we don't interrupt ongoing print jobs.
What's the situation with the laser printers or other printers? Is there a count on any of those, or are they?
So we have a lot of laser printers in the district, and it is a lot to keep them updated with toner and things like that for maintenance and such. We, through our tough financial times, have only been replacing toner at an absolute critical level for critical copiers and printers only. It's obviously not our ideal situation, but having more copiers will allow us to copy more and print less. Again, to present a savings to the district, hopefully in the long term.
And I'm sure in your I'm sorry, Bill, in your contract with it being bulk like that amongst the whole district, among the whole district, you're getting a good price per copy, per page.
So just to shed a little insight on that, because our copy machines are so old, there's a cost to rent or lease the equipment until it's paid for. All of our copy machines are currently paid for because all of our leases have matured. So we would have to release new equipment. But what the important thing to realize is there's another cost associated, which is our maintenance and service contract. And they call it M&S. So maintenance and service is at a certain percentage point that we're currently at a district. And that percentage point is substantially higher than what if we were to get a new copy system. Why is it higher? Well, our machines are older, so it's more expensive to replace older machines. Our service techs are coming out almost every day at our district buildings because they break that often. And yeah, so a lot of our administrative staff are on a first name basis with our copy machine repair people. And so it really is a higher per print cost to print on these older machines. By upgrading to the newer machines, we are at a much less, significantly reduced per copy rate. So there are some pros and cons here to really realize with the system.
David, my question was, you seem to favor more inkjet than laser. Is there a savings?
So I favor copying over LaserJet printing. But
When you
LaserJet,
say copying, are you talking inkjet?
so all of our copiers are LaserJet, but we also have LaserJet printers as well, standalone desktop printers. So that's what I mean by LaserJet printers. Yeah. So we really want to encourage copying to a copy machine for that. So, and so that just talks a little bit about productivity. Next, which is really at the forefront of almost everything that we do as a department, which is safety. So safety is a critical number one priority for us as a district. And when you think of safety, a lot of people think security cameras, locks, and bulletproof glass in buildings. But in IT, we really think of safety in three main parts. We do think of building security, which has a lot to do with cameras and other buildings technology such as alarm systems and things like that. And that's very important. But we also deal with cybersecurity as well. We all are aware of the unfortunate events that happened in Swansea a couple of weeks ago. And so we really don't want to be the next Swansea. We are doing everything we can to fortify our own systems and to really keep the integrity of our cybersecurity in check. And the third component of security that we really take seriously as a district IT team is personnel safety, like people safety, right? So what do I mean by people safety? People don't really talk about this as much, but safety as a person as a whole. And the majority of our people, of course, are our students and the most important population that we focus on, which is why through grant funding opportunities, we have purchased and will be rolling out a brand new comprehensive visitor management program that will be all digital based. We're not going to talk too much about that today because that is not a general or CIP budget request, but that is through a grant funding opportunity. But we do plan to roll that out very, very soon in a pilot phase. And then by the end, before the end of the year, probably the spring, we'll be rolling that out district-wide, which we'll talk to you about at an upcoming status report update. So those are the three components of safety that we focus in on as a district. Today, what we're going to talk about safety is something that we put in our general operating budget this year that was not there last year, which is vulnerability testing. This is really important because what this does is it provides a full and comprehensive audit on all of our district servers, systems, and software. Our goal is to determine any and all cyber vulnerabilities in the district. What this includes is monthly testing and reporting. And on a monthly basis, we will have briefings with cybersecurity specialists to analyze the reports generated and identify areas of improvement. Again, it's really important for us. A total estimated approximate cost on an annual basis will be $5,000 annually. It's a very low cost for the utility that you get in return. The return on investment on this is very, very high. It is very critical for us to really maintain the integrity of our cybersecurity in our district. So for $5,000, we basically open ourselves up to allow for people to scrutinize our systems pretty intensely on a monthly basis, constantly looking for new threats and new vulnerabilities. And then we meet as a cybersecurity team, which with myself, our network consultant, our network administrator, to review those reports with the specialists from the company that we're contracted with. And so that's something new for this year. Additionally, through CIP and grant funding, we hope to implement a new camera surveillance system. So we'd like to leverage CIP and grant funding to fully rip and replace our district camera systems. Our district camera systems are another system that's in dire need of replacement. And so not to go into depth with you in a public session with this, but if you ever like to know more information regarding the current state of our surveillance system, I'd be more than happy to further explain this to you in an executive session for security reasons. Our new camera system is offering easy to use navigation, artificial intelligence detection and alerts, and streamlined ways to recall footage. When an emergency happens, we need our building administrators to quickly pull and recall footage at a moment's notice. We can't have them fumbling around with passwords, networked drives, remoting into servers, and scrubbing through footage aimlessly. We need things fast, efficient, and effective, and this is what this new system provides. Lastly, and this is probably most important, everything we do as an IT department, we always do with groups of people, with feedback, and with teams. And with this project is no different. In fact, we've already gotten started on this project. Through all of our district physical buildings, we did full and comprehensive interior and exterior walkthroughs of all of our facilities in partnership with our IT team, our facilities team, our building principals and administrators, as well as Middletown high school, middle school, and elementary schools, school resource officers as well. So why all those people? Well, from a facilities perspective, it's important to get their input. From an installation perspective, obviously IT from the technical component on camera angles and different types of model cameras that we expect. But also our principals know our buildings best. They know our buildings inside and out. They know where the problem areas are. They know where they need coverage. And so their input's invaluable. And then to have a perspective from a law enforcement personnel is also just as critical. And so when we did these building walkouts, we walked out together as a team and developed a map to map out exactly where these camera systems are going to go, right down to the specific model and angle of installation on such a device. So we are ready to go when you are on that project. And so that is my budget presentation in a nutshell. But before I end, I would be remiss if I did not thank the phenomenal IT team that I have been blessed with. We have a phenomenal team of very talented, hardworking, and dedicated people, ensuring the success of all of us at Middletown. And so I am very blessed to have such a phenomenal team behind me. I come to work every day in such admiration of all of them. And I could not be more grateful as a director to have them back me up on certain things. I'd also like to thank our school committee for all of your support through the years, as well as the guidance and support of our superintendent and our assistant superintendent and fellow directors. So thank you all. If I'll have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
I don't know about you, but I want to applaud.
I know, David, that was impressive.
I'm
Uh,
sorry that David went first.
Sorry.
It's only gonna go downhill now.
I do have one quick
Thank
question.
you, Dave, for the nice picture of Peckham Beach.
Oh,
There you go.
Yes, we can look forward to summer.
Yeah,
This,
today.
this budget is all part of the approval for 23-24. None of the CIP stuff, you said you're doing some of this now, is that, you said that money is what was approved last year, so you're not waiting for any approvals of dollars and cents for you to continue with the security aspect and the one-to-ones and all those things.
So-
That money's already.
That's a great
designated.
question. Let me clarify. So the one-to-one program is a program that you may have remembered me presenting last year at last year's budget. So the town has graciously approved those funds for our one-to-one program. Because they approved them last year, it's technically this year's CIP money that we have to work with. So we're getting that renewal process started. We did not get the approval in time for this year to purchase for this academic year. But now that we have the approval, we're going to purchase over the summer so that we're ready for next academic year. What's really important for that plan is we need those funds to be locked and secured every single year devoted to that one-to-one renewal program. Because once we commit, we're committing to that cycle to making sure these devices are updated. If we skip a year or skip 2 years, it throws the whole plan off and is not a responsible way to keep our devices up to date. We're just basically kind of digging ourselves into a larger and larger hole. And I want to try to avoid that. So if we can really commit ourselves to an annual upgrade plan, that's really what is best. As far as the security aspirations that I expressed, that we're putting in the 24 CIP budget.
Okay.
So the one-to-one program was already approved. We're ready to go. That started in the 23 budget. 24 proposal is through the security camera system. And we also have a very unique opportunity through the Rhode Island Department of Education for the grant opportunity that if we actually purchase a new security camera system, they will actually reimburse us up to 30% of those costs. So it's really advantageous of us to take advantage of that. Now, the argument could say, just last night, a building committee was held on new facilities. Everything that I present to you all, unless I know otherwise, can easily be repurposed throughout the district or in new construction. So by the time new construction opens up, these whiteboards will probably need to be replaced anyway. If they're not, they can be easily uninstalled and reinstalled in new locations. Same goes for the camera system. Camera system prices are quoted with a 5-year license plan included with them. And so if by chance within 5 years, any of the buildings change, they can easily be uninstalled and repurposed elsewhere within the district, saving the district funds. And so our plan in the 24 year is to do our high school first for our camera funds, because that is the most important. That's where we see the most activity of the most reliance on our security camera footage. In the 25 fiscal year, we plan to do our Gourdet building, and then 26 and 27 school year elementaries, because we really need to work from the top down, because our largest demand are in our secondary buildings. But again, everything can be repurposed and replaced in the district and repurposed elsewhere.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
And we've met with our town administrator, and David has outlined, this plan of replacement. And actually, Sean embraced that idea. He liked that we had a plan.
Yes, and I thank them before. I'd like to thank again the town of Middletown for their support in the CIP. Without their support and these dollars, we would not be able to do the very critical things that we're able to do. So I thank the town council. I thank Sean Brown and everybody over the town for our support as well with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Do you want to see the budget workshop? A quick
Oh, yes. You mean the workbook?
Yeah.
workbook? Yeah.
So I'm going to present to you a working version of the budget workbook. This is by no means a final version or any accurate representation of our budget. This is purely a document that I used to code our budget workbook. So it has a lot of kind of false information, just so I really try to really stress test the workbooks a lot, trying to kind of break them and really build them strong. So this is just some example information, but it's going to give you an idea of what we have to work with here. So let me just connect my laptop.
Is this the beta version?
This is, this is the beta
Okay.
version. All right, so this is an example of our budget workbook. Again, this was composed with the support and cooperation of our assistant superintendent. Lori Miller and T. Gomes as well. Again, everything that we're doing, we always try to do as a team. So this is a little bit different from what we're used to in the past, but it's all Google Sheets based. And we start off with this cover page, and this cover page is sorted by object name and object code. And this pulls directly from UCOA. So if you're familiar with UCOA, there's an object code in UCOA. It's basically an accounting string. And we divided up the tabs along the bottom by object. And why did we do that? Well, we find that it's easier to budget that way, and that's just how we organized our budget. And so on this example sheet, if I hover over any of these links, they're all links to individual worksheets in the workbook. We have examples next to each object code and name so that our budget managers, whether it be building principals or high school budget directors, will have an understanding of what is included in each of these lines. So for example, I'm going to go along the bottom and I'm going to go under supplies and materials. So this is just an example of what we use when we budget. So we have in this first column, the item, we have quantity, the list price, and then the total price. We also list each vendor out as well. So for example, you're seeing our accounting system is budgeted for $52,000. That is our accounting system from Tyler Technologies. That handles all of our payroll, our financial information, budgeting software, et cetera. And so that is that there. But you also see this line item called Brain Pop, and you see it repeated 5 times or so. That's because all of our budget managers are budgeting by location, because certain things that are used district-wide, UCOA states that we have to budget by location. Am I sounding right? Okay.
sounds
See,
good.
I'm learning too. So, and this is really a great thing because having the budget done this way allows me personally, from just speaking on a personal level, it really allowed me to learn and understand the UCOA process a lot better as well, which I was really excited about. So basically with Brain Pop here is repeated for all of our schools. So you'll see on this location tab, we have Brain Pop for Forest, Aquidneck, GLA, GMS, and the high school. And that's why you see it repeated there. So basically, we have that cost there. And going across the top, we also have some headers here. I'm going to go use this example. I'm going to go pick another object called Purchase Professional Services. And this includes things like internet, our copiers, our phones. And so as I scroll along the top, I'm going to take our Power School contracted support and customization, for example. That is a $5,000. It's a reoccurring type, and you'll see a bunch of these drop down. So I can choose if I want a new request or a reoccurring request, and I can choose a location. Is this a district expense? Is this an Aquidneck elementary expense, a Gordon Learning Academy expense, et cetera? And I also can set function codes, program codes, subject codes, and object codes. This is every single component to a UCOA code string. Now, our budget managers aren't going to memorize or know the numbers behind these, which is why we put drop downs in place. So, for example, this Power School request is categorized as an in-service staff and development support for the function code. For the program code, it is a regular elementary and secondary education, but I also have options for like special ed, Korean tech, et cetera. The subject is subjected general education, but if I had, say, clay for an art activity, I might categorize that as art, right? I'm going to change that back to general education. And then I have the object code that I can choose from as well. So I can choose from a list of object codes. This through a, that is derived from formulas. So all of these drop downs will give you a UCOA string. And so this does 2 things. This educates the budget manager on the UCOA process, but hopefully will make the budget building process more streamlined for the budget, for the business office. Because last year and in previous years, the business office took all of these line items in these budgets and manually created these UCOA strings here. And you can see these numbers are not pretty. So for a person in the business office to go through every single budget line, and I personally have hundreds of lines, and I'm just one department, is extremely inefficient. And so we are trying to clean that inefficiency up by creating our own UCOA codes, but also not having to put our budget managers through a college course on UCOA either. So you'll actually see, depending on how I change my drop downs in this first row, you'll see these numbers in UCOA dynamically and automatically update themselves. So there is my updated UCOA string there. And so that is how our budget process works.
So again, this is, thanks to the team for doing this, but again, part of, our business, the business office and managing what we need to manage in a more efficient, transparent way. So, and then what Lori and T will do is take this data,
Yeah, we'll take that data and we will take that string, put it into a file and then put it into our accounting system, upload it to the accounting system so that when we need to get information on a particular object number, we'll have it. We'll be able to pull it by school, be able to pull it by object code, by subject, by any of those numbers that you have there.
So that's actually a really good point. What she means by that is what we can do is all of these column headers are able to be sort and filtered. So if I wanted to just pull, for example, from a specific vendor, I can clear all these fields and say I just wanted to pull all of my Ricoh expense for my copy machines. I can select Ricoh as a vendor and hit OK, and boom, I have all of my Ricoh budget lines for our copy machine replacement. What I also can do is I can select all of these and I can sort alphabetically on any one of these column headers or pick one of my drop downs. Say, for example, I want to see all of my expenses for Aquidneck Elementary School. I can clear my filters, select Aquidneck, and boom, these are all of my expenses for Aquidneck Elementary. So it makes things very streamlined and effective for us.
and more timely when people ask for information. If we get a request from the public, we'll be able to pull this in a more timely way. If we get a request from our town council, more easily to pull this data and get the information in a timely way.
And it's easier to compare year to year. So if you're looking at what you have currently versus what you're asking for, you know exactly where your expenses have increased and why. It just makes so much sense to have this detail.
Can I ask you, Dave, how far does your data go back on your work?
So this is a brand new workbook this year. So the data on these
okay,
new
sorry.
workbooks is just for this year only. Yep.
You created this program?
So I created the spreadsheet formulas within, so this is basically Google Sheets, which is available to all of our faculty, staff, and students, but I, in partnership with everyone else, created custom formulas, custom drop downs, things like that, that will make this work. And so if you take a look into here, you can see along the top string what those formulas are. I also have some hidden columns in here to kind of show you based on certain drop downs, how the object code changes. Right? So that's how the formulas are derived. You can see that that's like one example formula all along the top to kind of make that work.
Yeah, that's
I try to,
a whole different language to me.
I try to keep things surface level for you guys. So yeah, you don't see all the
Keep it at a
ugliness
high
behind
level,
it,
'cause
right?
Say,
So-
ignore the man behind the curtain.
Definitely.
David, that
Please
is,
do.
That.
that is impressive. So I have to ask this question.
Sure.
How long has it taken you to develop this? Yeah.
It was a while. I didn't really keep track, but it took a while because we're not just creating budgets for IT, we're creating budgets for facilities.
Mhm.
We're creating budgets for all of our building principals and then all of our high school budget directors, whether it be for athletics or our unified arts,
Right.
things like that.
My
So
point of
it's-
asking that question is because I just think it's important for the people to know that what is happening behind the scenes is extremely intense work, but it is productive work in order to be able to make things easier, smoother, and more efficient and more cost effective. But what you've dedicated to do this program for each department is unbelievable. Thank you very much.
Thank
to
you.
and your team, because this is the most efficient accounting system that I've seen in the 20 years that I've been sitting here. So
Well, thank you. That means a lot to say that. I
Impressive.
appreciate that. And I get
Wow.
to go off your point. What I have done personally as a budget director is this is where a lot of my software renewals are held. And again, a lot of this is, I apologize, these drop downs are complete just because this was my testing workbook. I didn't really want to mess up my actual workbook, but what I did do is I included these new columns, which not any other budget manager has. This was something for me, for my own personal organization. is I included all of the renewal dates for every single one of our software licenses and renewal dates so that I will know when things are up and when to put in requisitions and to get POs to submit to vendors. I also have copies of all of our quotes that are updated for each budget request so that Lori and T can kind of go in there and see what exactly costs what in that. So everyone has access to all of these renewal quotes next to each
impressive.
line item.
Thank you very much, David.
David, how
excellent.
is this gonna interact with the funding formula, the state funding formula? Is it going to?
So this mainly is for our internal administrative team to do our preliminary budget. What happens after this is under the direction of the business office. I will then go into everybody's workbooks and lock them all down, meaning that no more changes can be made, and pull all of the data from all of the workbooks into one giant workbook so that we have one uploaded spreadsheet that we will upload to our financial system, Tyler. And in Infinite Visions in Tyler, it'll take all of that data and build the budget. So that will be in partnership with the business office for Morelli. So this is really just kind of the pre-work that's involved. The real work gets done in Tyler as far as budgeting and cuts and adjustments and things like that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was good to show that.
Absolutely.
I know the
Excellent.
back end is.
I'm glad you're able to see it.
Really impressive.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so we are going to move on to our regular meeting. We're going to start with the public forum. Individuals may address the school committee on only one relevant education-related topic not included on the agenda, nor related to personnel or job performance, nor revealing personally identifiable information regarding students. Individuals may speak for no longer than 5 minutes and must submit a public participation form to the superintendent prior to the start of the meeting. Items discussed during this session shall not be voted upon. I did see you filling that out, Mr. Hero. Thank you. Thank you. So what, you want to speak on,
He can speak because it's a public forum.
right, okay, you can come on up and speak right now, Mr. Who.
Or do you want to speak
Are you-
when we under old business?
That's what I want.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Mr. Viveras, you want to speak on a particular agenda item or you can fill that out later. Come on up and speak.
Okay.
You want to speak on a particular item or you want to do it during the public forum?
I just want to address what we discovered.
Oh, sure, yes, come on up.
Anton Viveras, 45 Bayview Park, Middletown. From what I've just seen, I got to commend
Anisi,
Enos,
Mr.
okay. I think what he set forward, if used, would prevent budget shortfalls, because with this, you can check your expenses compared to what you budgeted under those items. And you do that monthly, and that'll tell you whether or not you're at a point where you're overspending or you're within levels, or actually you're underspending. So I congratulate you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have no other forms, Kiki? That's it? Okay, next, I need a motion to table spotlight on teaching and learning. The woman who was going to present had to leave, so we're just going to, I need a motion to
Can I
put
make
that
a-
onto the next meeting.
A motion to table the spotlight on teaching and learning multi-language learners and to move it out to our next meeting.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to information.
So in your packet, I just want to draw attention to the Military Interstate Compact newsletter, the January newsletter that you received. Also, the agenda from the legislative agenda that the town council had that we participated in. The other is the kickoff agenda that we had with our planner, our educational planner. We had a walkthrough of all our schools, or the 2 schools, on February 9th. So you have that agenda there. And the last information is an inquiry that Mr. Hewitt asked about refs and the process that we pay our refs. So, as my, I provide all of you with that information and the answer. So that's information.
Next is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I make a motion that the school committee approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next, we're moving on to old business.
So under old business, just want to let you know that the survey regarding times for school committee closes next Tuesday. And we will have results for you at the following meeting.
How's the participation then?
We have probably 157 responses. Okay, next is, want me to go to the next? Next is the joint school committee meeting with Newport. A letter was sent to Newport. And I understand there was a meeting of the school committee. I heard that through one of our informed citizens, that they are looking forward to meeting with us. And I know someone wants to speak to that.
Mr. Haru, if you'd like to come up.
Thank you. Ron Heru, 51 Bay Ridge Drive, Middletown. Just as long as I said old business, I don't know why the school committee survey didn't go out to the community rather than just the parents.
It did go to the
did.
community.
I never received one.
It was on our, the town's website, and the community was directed to our website.
I thought you were going to do this through the school committee, not school committee, the town newsletter that went out, and maybe have the survey there.
Yeah, I don't, I know I provided the survey to Mr. Shealy, and he put an article in the, on that town website with a link.
Didn't see it, but anyway, I just think that more people could have been involved. I don't see 100, I think there are more people concerned, or maybe how you access that website. It wasn't just an easy item to do, as some parents have told me. Not just like sending them out a survey and write it out and mail it back to you or email it. Anyway, the subject of the joint school committee. I addressed the Newport School Committee Monday night on the same subject I addressed you about getting together, and I'm glad this is going forward. I was, again, very happy to see Teresa Spengler and Rebecca Boland address this issue at the 9th meeting, not the 9th meeting, but on the 9th at the Newport this week forum on education. And they both indicated there publicly that they wanted to work to collaboration and sharing of resources. And I'm understanding right now, being at that meeting, that they voted unanimously to support meeting together with you and figuring out where you go from here. And I know you're all working, they're working on the new school, you're working on the proposal for the new school, the bond. But let's not forget the macro issue. I'm a Middletown resident, but I'm a member of Aquidneck Island. And I'd like to see the macro picture emphasized more so between the schools than it has been in the past. And I know you can give me example of things that have been done. But in time, I'd like to see a formal committee, subcommittee established between both communities. And they also talked about, they thought help could be getting from RIDE for consultants to examine the resources, the sharing, and hopefully in the future, I would see this as a basis for looking at regionalization again. Not while the bond issue is going on now, but at a later time. But you've got to establish a formal structure. One time, 3 years ago, the 3 school committees on the island met. We need to do things together. I haven't heard much going on from 3 years ago when you all met together at Portsmouth Middle School. And I'd like to see more emphasis on the island, how we can share and how things can be done better. When the head of the Department of Education addressed us at the Middletown Library when she came in, and someone asked her about looking at the schools and why do we have 3 school districts, she wondered also, why on such a small island do we have 3 school districts? And I realize you've got things to do here, but let's not forget to me, the macro approach and looking at the island as islanders rather than just looking at Middletown, Newport, and Portsmouth. And again, thank you for getting things started. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I will be in touch with Becky to get something scheduled or Mrs. Craig will be in touch with Mrs. Jermaine for that. So we will get something scheduled. I mean, we were waiting for their meeting to approve it. We already initiated it, so we just were waiting for their meeting on Tuesday. And then obviously last night we had a building committee meeting. Next week, school vacation, but we will get something scheduled as soon as.
sent you all the link electronically of what was said at that meeting, and the fact that it was unanimously approved, and they all were open arms, the door is open, is what they said.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Vicky, you want to pass that? Oh, that's just the, okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Next is the student rank.
Student rank, I provided you information, and again, this is up on Clerk Base for the public to see. Kind of a summary of what Dr. Heath and the students from Middletown High School reported on at our last meeting. We're waiting for a proposal for them for your approval on what would it look like going forward. So hopefully in May or June, or maybe April, we'll have a proposal.
Thank you. And next, we move on to action items. Sorry, I'm moving along here. Okay. Can I get a motion on policy number 7060 for suicide prevention, second reading?
I make a motion that the school committee approve the suicide prevention second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I think it's a good policy. Can I get a motion on? Okay, I thought I read that wrong. Policy number 7060A, suicide prevention protocol, second reading.
Make a motion that the school committee approve the suicide prevention protocol second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I get a motion on the Middletown High School Program of Studies 2023-2024?
I make a motion that the school committee approve the Middletown High School's Program of Studies 2023-2024.
Second.
Any discussion? This is what Jeff talked about.
Yes.
This hasn't changed, nothing.
No, nothing has changed.
It's
It's
just the-
just a summary.
Official approval, okay. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion, can I get a motion on the dissolution of Newport County Regional Special Education Program?
I make a motion that the school committee approve the dissolution of the Newport County Regional Special Education Program.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Go ahead, good.
I think it's important that upon the dissolution of this, that we have some public meetings with the parents of the children involved in this program. That they're included in the planning of the new program of what we're gonna do. They need to be involved in that planning process.
They had a meeting, rather it being public, some parents may not be comfortable coming into the public, but they did Mrs. Krager did meet with families in the different schools, correct? You
I
start that
met with the
process.
families that have children in Tiverton, and they came here and we had discussions. Mrs. Spangler is right about the confidentiality piece. But yes, I do plan to have some meetings with they have what's called a special ed board, and meet with those leaders and invite parents in. They need to be part of the process in selecting And I want to hear from them in selecting the special ed director and so forth. So that will occur.
We can offer something in the public, but we have to be very cognizant and respectful of people's privacy. But I do know that the superintendent and the current director right now are working with families to make sure that transitions. I also know the early childhood coordinator is working with the early childhood families, along with the special ed director, to ensure the transition of those students who are housed in Tiverton right now will be transitioned into our schools. But nothing is being changed until September. So I know that I have heard people talking about it, and I've reassured them that where things are at right now is for the rest of the school year. Nothing is changing. Students are not moving. So when the students are changing from one grade to the next, some of those students would be coming back from Tiverton anyway, going into our K programs. So it's really the preschool age group that are in Tiverton right now. At least I'm talking the early childhood aspect. Those students would need to be into a pre-K program, So I do know that that is happening. And I think that a lot of people it's behind closed doors, sort of, but with the appropriate admin team.
And I think when
And supports.
whoever's the new director, that person and myself would need to meet with these families as well.
Right.
What's working, what could be better, what's your vision? A kind of an assessment of the program going forward.
Approximately how many families?
Well, we only had 12 families outside of our district.
Yeah. that's
Yeah.
what I'm-
Oh, we have 400 and something.
But 12 from
Right.
different, that
That
includes them.
Does that include?
Yeah,
early
I
childhood?
personally called each family and we had about 6 show up that night. The other districts have approved the dissolution of Little Compton did last week. So did Tiverton last week. So we were the last district. We are the last district.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I get a motion on the resignations?
I make a motion, the school committee approve the following resignations for the purpose of retirement effective the last day of the 2022-2023 school year. Celeste Dugan, special education teacher, Aquidneck Elementary School.
Second,
Any discussion? I'm very sad to see her go. I love Celeste.
So the next one as well?
Mhm.
Was that
We have to
separate?
do it separate.
Okay.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Can I get a motion for the superintendent? Oh, well, I guess you could have done it. For the following
I
resignation.
make a motion that
Oh,
the
no,
school
it's good.
committee approve the following resignation. Nicole Doucette, special education teacher, JH Gaudet Middle School, effective February 24, 2023.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's why that was different. Different
Oh.
date.
Okay.
Okay, next is superintendent reports.
In terms of personnel, hire effective January 26, 2023, Richard Taylor beyond the bell at Gaudet School. Hire effective February 7th, 2023, Paula Garino beyond the bell Gaudet School. Hire effective February 27th, 2023, Katie Travaris beyond the bell coordinator at Aquidneck School. Hire effective March 6th, 2023, Natalia Patterson, a translator. Hire effective March 13th, 2023, David Travaris, 678 baseball coach, John Cawley, junior varsity baseball coach, Eric Godin, varsity baseball coach. Hire effective March 30th, 2023, Blair Alexander, excuse me, girls varsity lacrosse coach. And just for your information, a lateral move effective February 6th, Ryan Majera, custodian to custodial foreman.
That last resignation, that was not on there.
Oh, okay. And we do have a resignation, and we'll put it formally for you to approve the resignation, but we do have one, Terry Lazarus, 4-hour teacher assistant, Gaudet Learning Academy,
Effective
effective
February 21st.
February 23rd,
21st.
first.
That came in after, so we would have to approve it at next meeting.
Okay.
Next is curriculum.
In terms of curriculum, if you take a look at your status report, our assistant superintendent provided updates to you about the Beyond the Bell program. We have a number of students. You can see January, 496 students participated in Beyond the Bell with 44 teachers. Also, Michelle provided numbers of or descriptions of what programs are occurring in each school. Some noteworthy news is when you look at our students, out of 36 students doing the academic Beyond the Bell, 92% of their scores, their progress monitoring showed progress. Some had bigger gains than others, but we are showing progress. One student stayed about the same, and 2 students, their scores were a little bit lower. At Middletown High School, this is what's happening at Middletown High School. We have peer homework support, homework for our at-risk students at the high school, capstone project for our special ed student support, literacy support at the high school for students below grade level, and personal math plan support for students who are behind in math. So, again, this is a project that we had a grant for, but the town council infused extra dollars and we're able to expand that. When you look at the number, 400 and something students, that's really a very good program, a solid program.
Well, I just want to go back and comment on the scores, the numbers who participated even before that. So in November, it was 179 students. December was 463, and that was a short month. And then that jumped up to 496. So we're just under 500 for this past month of January. That is amazing. And to look at what is being offered in each school is phenomenal. I just think it's amazing of what our teachers are doing. So thank you. A shout out to all of them and to Michelle for being the head of the steering committee here. That's impressive to see 92% of the students increase. So thank you.
Excuse me, Teresa, what were you on this David's Magic keyboard here?
The status report all the way to the very end.
On the status report?
Yeah, all the way to the very end of this. David,
It's not working up here.
almost to the very end, actually. It's page
Okay,
6 of the status report.
it's not, it's.
Don't you miss
status
all the
report.
paper?
Yeah, David,
If I-
David, give him mine.
Oh, where did you get, this is on the,
David. Give him,
hold on,
just give him the status report. Yeah, but just,
where
that's
did
all
it come from?
Status report.
Okay.
Just a quick comment. If you look at, the interventions that
Oh,
are going
status
on,
report, I'm down at the end.
yes.
almost to the end. Page 9,
Well, this one was,
page 7, Bill,
yeah, no.
or 6. What are you on?
I was on B, I'm on February 16th.
Okay.
Okay, I found out where it was, but it was at the top.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Just a quick comment. If you look at the programs, important to note that there is no math intervention going on during the day. That they're looking for some sort of math intervention, and that so much of it, after school, just as simple as multiplication, division, all your facts and all of that. It's nice to see that they're getting it somewhere.
Absolutely. Good point. All right. Thank you. Finance.
Finance, I think you heard enough of finance with the budget. T in the business office, again, are doing a great job. We are closing up the audit. I think we have almost everything in.
I think
At
we're
this point?
97%. We should be
97.
done hopefully by next week.
Again, working on the budget, moving our personnel up steps.
Impact Day got in.
We did receive an impact aid payment just yesterday or the day before. We had budgeted in terms of revenue about 700 and something thousand. This payment was about 240 something thousand. Hopefully more is coming in.
Hopefully.
Um, we've been in communication with the town in terms of the both departments. We need to establish weekly meetings, once again, but we've been working on the bond projects and so forth. Okay, we're down in facilities.
So you all experienced the cold weather event of last weekend. For facilities directors, we had a total nightmare. Of the 32 school districts, public school districts in Rhode Island, 30 of those districts put in claims for building damage from that storm.
Wow.
Yeah, the trust is working hard lately, so. So we had 3 pipes break in Gaudet Middle School. 2 down the south end of the school and 1 down the other end. Approximately 30% of the school was flooded at one point. Our custodial staff on a Sunday morning jumped into action. They came in, they stayed the entire day. They got the place cleaned up by the end of Sunday night. Unfortunately, we did have a virtual learning day on Monday because the school just wasn't ready for people to come in. After the storms, we have had a water mitigation specialist come in, a mold mitigation specialist come in. They tested the school, made sure everything was good to go. We got approval from the fire department to reopen on Tuesday morning. We're still looking at probably a claim around $50,000. There's 3 hallways that are gonna have to be retiled, new floors. The art room is gonna have to have a new floor in there. And then between wages and calling in, I had to call in an electric company, I had to call in the HVAC company to repair. If there is asbestos under those tiles, we're probably looking at a claim close to $100,000. There's no, we don't have to worry about, there's nothing that's gonna happen in terms of health or safety for it to be done. The floors will be replaced over the summer break. We had someone test for asbestos. There's nothing in the air, nothing that was, caused by that flood. So as of right now, it's just more of a recovery process, replacing the stuff that got damaged. I don't know if anybody has any questions on anything that happened.
Yeah, Paul, I understand you had people over there because of the forecast of cold weather.
Yeah, we actually turned the heat on ahead of time. We left the heat on the whole weekend to try to prevent this from happening. But basically what is we have big units in the actual classrooms. They're vented to the outside. So because that air was sub-zero and we had 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, it just forced wind back into those machines. It was like a 1 in a 10-year storm in terms of, it's just a perfect storm for us to get damage. So everything froze on Saturday, and as the school recovered on Sunday, everything thawed out, and that's when all the pipes popped.
Our team, custodial team did a fabulous job, as Poe said. They were right over there. I was there Sunday afternoon, and they were determined to clean the school up and to not lose more than 1 day of school.
In addition to that, our first priority when we got in there was to keep the water away from that new gym floor. Some of the water did get under the gym floor. The water mitigation people did come in. And we did not have any damage to the floor, which is.
This is all,
Lucky.
all Gaudet. And was it second floor? The second floor?
It was down the gym end of it there was 2 breaks down that end. So that was mostly hallways and some classrooms. Down the other end where the old main entrance to the Gaudet was, we did have a flood there, and it came down to the bottom level through the ceiling. So a lot of ceiling tiles got ruined. Luckily, the water traveled into the elevator shaft, and the sump pump that was in there pumped it out. Because otherwise we'd be talking probably about 50 to 60% of the school being flooded. Another thing that was in our favor was It didn't hit any carpeted areas and it didn't hit anywhere that had drywall. So if this was a newer school with carpeting and drywall, we probably would have lost the school. So for once, I'm happy we have old schools. Because the old concrete bunkers held the water in the hallways and we didn't have a lot of property damage based on the amount of flooding that we had, so
Wow.
it could have been a lot worse.
Well, thank you to you and your crew for being so efficient and being able to open school on Tuesday. That was really impressive to get that done and bring in all the appropriate people to ensure that the safety and the health of the children was good to reopen on Tuesday, so. It was a very cold day.
Yes.
When I got up on Sunday morning and it said -4 without the wind chill, looking at my thermostat and the sun was already coming up, it was cold. So,
So on a lighter note, we're getting ready to prep the fields for opening for spring. I do have most of my maintenance staff right now is out on medical or workman's comp, so it's gonna be a little bit more difficult this year, not having my manpower to get it done, but we'll figure a way out. My last item, I do wanted to address the council on our policies and our procedures of price lists for renting out our fields to outside organizations and some of our classrooms, and then we haven't updated those price lists since 2018. We're currently running about 25 to 30% lower than surrounding towns of Tiverton, Portsmouth. So I'd like to have that added to the agenda next month. I can formulate recommendations for you if you would like that, or if you guys want to discuss yourselves and determine if you want to do it in the first place.
I'd like,
It's up to you.
if you could, recommendations to come forward, because you have the access of doing that kind of research.
Yeah.
I'm not calling other facilities, to be honest with you, to find out what they're charging. But I do, I'm glad you noticed that. I think it is important. That is revenue for our district, and I think it's important that we utilize that revenue appropriately. So I'm all set with that. Is everybody else okay with him coming with recommendations? All right, thank you, Poe.
I don't know if it's a facility topic or not. The whole AED, is that facility related?
Yeah, so just got a report back from the fire department today.
Okay, 'cause
So we're gonna have to take, I think there was a disconnect where we thought the fire department was doing it and they thought we were doing it over the years, and apparently we haven't been because a lot of the units are outdated or very close to expiration. So I literally just got the report about 3 hours ago.
really,
I glanced through it, so we're gonna have to make a determination as to, I'll
Is
meet
it-
with the fire department and decide.
I just think it's a hot topic. I've, obviously since a professional football player on the field, but other instances, I've seen a couple of high school situations that I've read about recently.
Yeah, they are actually loaning us
Yep.
AEDs right now to fill in for the ones that are expired
Yeah,
until we can figure out how we're gonna address the situation.
just
Not
access,
quite sure.
just renting out that field in the area, not only the town's use, but others' use, having it accessible. I know it's been locked or it's been here or
We
it's
actually
been
have
there.
already moved the one at Gaudet. There was one that was in the concession
Yep.
stand and people were worried if
Right.
something happened, that nobody had a key to the concession
Mhm.
stand. So we have already moved that out to a more public area.
Right,
Can't leave it out in the public because those have a tendency to get stolen.
right. And I know I
expensive,
go out to Satuus
But it's in
often.
an area
Yeah.
now where the athletic directors have
Yep.
access to it. So.
If you go out to Satuus, it's on the outside of the building. There's one right there on the building. I know there's portable ones. And I just keep seeing things that come up.
But they're thousands of dollars a piece.
Yeah,
There's grants available for those.
are there?
Yeah, that's something I need to look into. It was just all came about today, actually. So.
We'll share the report. It just
Yeah.
came
Through
in today.
I'd be interested in hearing more about that.
Yeah, there's some restaurants locally that chains that offer them. Trying to think of one.
That offer grants for getting them?
Yep.
That's
There's
excellent.
a whole
Yeah.
bunch of that.
Great.
Can you share that information?
Yeah, that would be great to know that.
Kind of maybe a weird question, but what is our association with Solway Regina out there on the sports field? Are we still?
We still have the partnership
alliance?
with them, yes.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I
Mhm.
don't-
Now, when they come and they have games, are they bringing their AEDs or they have access to ours? Because that's an important question to find out. That's a good question, Bill.
Mhm.
Because they were out there practicing the other day,
They might bring a portable.
but we should find out about
Yep.
that too, so that they understand that if
Yep.
that they need access to one or they need to bring one.
Or the youth teams that are out there, or the basketball teams.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
the-
part of that letter was the battalion chief had reached
Yeah.
out and said we need to meet at some point and formulate a plan and
The
both
difficulty
for
is,
renewals of the units too, but also placement and
And the training, and
accessibility.
although it walks
Yeah.
kind of through it, but.
the
like,
expensive
they do
ones
The other training,
are easy.
yeah.
There
tell you
is,
exactly what to
there
do.
is training. I think one of our boosters
Mhm.
members, have training on March 17th. He sent me
Oh, wow.
some information, so I think that's a school committee meeting. I don't know.
But the difficulty is leaving it out is that somebody could steal it or sabotage it. And then that's where the challenge
Right,
is.
and again, I just
To
noticed.
open to the public and
Yep.
not be able to have one there is very disheartening,
Mhm.
you know, when we open that to the public for people to
Right.
walk. But at the same time, we can't put a $3,000
Right.
No. there's no
apparatus
way.
out there
And
and not think it's gonna disappear or get damaged with some.
Again, if you go out to
kids messing around.
Satuus, you know, you have your main door and your bathroom door is always open, but it's right affixed to the exterior of the building. I don't know, I'm sure it costs all kinds of money, but it's right there on the outside of the building.
Is it a glass that you
I just saw it the other day,
maybe take a ride out there and see what it looks
you
like?
know?
We'll send you the report though.
Yep, great.
Thank you.
Might be that the athletic director has a key to it.
The athletic director has her own in her car that she takes to her games. So she does have a portable one.
Mhm.
That's good. All right. David.
All right, well, good evening again, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. Our registration and enrollment team is preparing for our registration window to open on April 1st of this year. The team is working on improving the registration processes, updating the registration website, and discovering easier ways families can register, along with learning more about the registration process. For example, we are developing in-house an informational card to pass out to families interested in registering. This card will have basic contact information along with a specialized QR code so that families can quickly scan and access our streamlined registration site for quicker access to important information and announcements. Our network administrator and lead technician have done a phenomenal job with their response to the flooding at Gaudet School this week. The team sprang into action to quickly evaluate any potential damage. All areas of the building were assessed, including classroom technology, computer workstations, wireless access points, and other technical assets. Luckily, there was very minimal damage to all the technology-related assets to report at this time. Total approximated loss is up to $200 to $300 in damages. So we were very lucky on that front. And we are working with our facilities department closely to report those losses. Lastly, we're very happy this week to offer in-person professional development sessions at our schools for our new interactive whiteboards. Teachers were very happy to have in-person hands-on opportunities to learn more about the features and functionalities of these new whiteboards. We are actively working with our facilities department in the short term to install up to 13 more additional boards in the coming weeks, with many more coming along the way later this year. That's my status report for February. If the committee has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just like to update you too about our building committee. There was a meeting last night. I know Tammy and Teresa can probably weigh in on this. Communication plan is being developed regarding the May 2nd bond. Early voting starts, so there's really like only 34 days, business days before the opening of polls for early voting. Teresa, Tammy, you want to add anything else?
It was a good meeting. It was very informative. The architect firm had brought,
Use your microphone.
the architects had brought, 2 middle high schools that they had done, and they walked us through that. So it was really great to see the possibilities. One was Saugus in Mass, and the other one was Winthrop, I believe,
Winthrop.
in Mass. One was a little bit under our enrollment, one was a little bit over, but it was great to see that. And they're going to bring us more. They're going to bring us an elementary school as well. And then I think they're also going to share with us another middle high school that has more of a CTE component. So that was really nice to see that. Anything else?
Oh,
We had a Zoom meeting today, kind of a debrief after our walkthrough of the buildings. And there'll be a survey sent out to our staff regarding, you know, their feelings about small learning communities and that type of thing.
and I want to comment that, the town administrator and the superintendent, and the town president and I are involved in planning a meeting open to the public. So there'll be public meetings on the discussions and what, the finances, will it be in, and the taxes and all of those things will be available. So we're setting up, Sean Brown is working with Rosemary to set up some dates to coordinate to open to the public. I don't want to call it a public hearing, but it will be a public meeting, an informational meeting that people can come and ask questions and learn more about the details of the bond and what the proposals are. And they're going to put, those meetings will be a little bit further down, one before the early election begins and one just before the May 2nd election. Because we're allowing time to get more of a design from the architect and more information before we open up and have a meeting. We want to be more informed to be able to provide that information to the public so they can make an informed decision. Right now, to do a meeting like that is too early. They need more information from the architects and more importantly, is from the academic expert Manuel, who is working with the schools, what our educational plan would look like. So we want to have those details before we open up these meetings.
And even yesterday's presentation is going to be posted.
Yes. Yes. And I believe the next meeting will be live, not just recorded. So that's what Mr. Nisi is working on, is to make that meeting live. So that people can be on the Zoom meeting as well, if they want to.
Teresa, on a communication plan, is the building committee also providing the information of if the bond doesn't pass?
Yes.
What are the next steps? And because they need to show what's the cost of upkeeping the current
Right.
buildings.
That came up last night. Yes, that was a big part of the discussion last night, which was really important. What do we do if the bond doesn't pass? What happens if we do nothing to our facilities? What is that price tag going to be over the course of the long term when we're talking the course of the bond cost factors versus doing nothing? So that was a big discussion last night before the end of the meeting.
It's a 25-year bond is what I heard.
25 or 30, I don't think that's been defined yet.
I think it's gonna be 25.
They mentioned the 25 was a more conservative number, so they were going to go,
Okay.
$20 million difference.
they were going to
Yes,
think
it
of
is
going,
20 million.
going with that.
Would you say 20?
$20 million difference in cost to
Yeah.
the town, but it's putting out more money up front, obviously, because you're shortening the payback of 5 years. Yes, you're not paying as much interest, but it's gonna cost more during those 25 years. So and then also the other thing that we're waiting on the meetings is we want to see if we can get more reimbursement rates. We don't want to go out there and say, this is what we're gonna get, when potentially we could have the opportunity of getting more. So legislators are being, all of that, Sean's working with legislators. There's a lot of information that still has to be gathered before we can do these meetings to make sure that, excuse me, that we're doing it correctly and we're providing the facts. And it's consistent across the board so that everybody has the same information.
Are they wiggling 52 or 35 in front of us?
52
It's
and a half.
52 and a half.
52 and a half.
And a half.
Thank you.
And they're
But
trying for
Trying for more.
more.
Oh, yeah, well, I hope we get more.
Sean's working with RIDE, working with legislators, and there's a lot.
The
to it.
reason for being expedient is because isn't that 52.5 run out within a year or something?
Yes,
And then we're just back to 35.
correct. So that's why this bond is so important to
You
pass
know
this
what the
year.
date is that we have to get the paperwork into the state?
It's been
Make sure.
submitted, I
It's
believe.
It went in already.
Well, I know it's already gone in, but there's a certain time when that 52.5 runs.
Well,
out,
if the bond passes on May 2nd,
Then
then we
move forward.
we are within the deadline to be able to be done by I believe it's December, if I'm correct on that.
believe
Something
so.
about
I
December.
think it is.
So if,
And they're trying to push things up there too.
Right.
We just don't know.
so they're working towards the bond passing. If the bond doesn't pass, we'll have to go to Plan B, obviously. They can't stop to wait for the bond. If we stop to wait for the bond, then we would really be in trouble for progressing. So we have the architects working, we have the educational program of studies being focused on the they're in the schools, they've met with teachers, they've met with administrators, they're going back into the students have participated. So it's a very lengthy process, but the architects team and the whole team is, once the town council approved it and we approved it to proceed, everybody's jumping in with, going forward and progressing at this point. So that's all we can do.
And on our website, there's a landing button where you can just one click and it will bring you to all the building committees' work that they're doing.
It says
And-
May 2nd school bond info. That's
Yep.
the click. Yeah, I'm looking over your shoulder.
Yep. And Mr. Moran, one of our building committee members, is organizing the data around that.
Yes, that came up last night too, that he was gonna ensure that all of this information was posted onto that link, and said on the town website is too, not just ours.
And add Greg.
Oh, yes, and that's right, we have to officially appoint, I'm going to be on the building committee and Greg is going to be an alternate. But the three of us can be at meetings because it is open to the public and it's not considered a quorum because it's advertised. So, because we'd be in the audience anyway. Tammy's the only one sitting up here voting. So, okay, so we're good with that? All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Wanna say
Motion to-
thank you to everybody?
Reports.
Oh, and yes, I need a motion. to
Oh,
receive,
I-
sorry.
Make a motion, the school committee receive the superintendent reports.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I want to say thank you to everybody. It's a great presentation tonight. I look forward to hearing about the
Budget meeting.
English language learners later. Our next budget workshop is Tuesday, February 28th at 3:30 PM here. And we will, the next one after that is March. I'm sorry, March. Cool.
What's the next meeting?
February-
the next day?
February 28th, Tuesday, February 28th at 3:30 is a budget workshop. We have another one on March 7th at 3:30, a budget workshop.
We've got two in March.
And we have one prior to our regular meeting on March 16th at 3:30. It'll be a budget workshop and a regular meeting. We'll make sure you get all those written down, Bill, before you go. Okay. Hope everybody has a great, safe school vacation next week. Thank you very much. And I have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn from the school committee meeting at 5:52.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night. Lisa Wood. Don't go away.